Hey everyone! Before we begin today, we'd like to thank our newest patrons, Taylor and Amy. Welcome to the team. If you want to be like them and get access to exclusive bonus content like our notes, access to our Discord community, and the opportunity to submit your very own study questions, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/podandprejudice. And now enjoy this week's episode covering Volume 2, Chapters 11 and 12 of Mansfield Park.
The people want to hear where you are in Avatar. And if you are where I left you, it is quite a precarious position.
What did we talk about the last time we talked on air?
The swamp.
Oh, that was a long time ago. So I have since met Toph, my queen, who's actually kind of a jerk.
Yeah, in like the best way. She's just like, you don't have to have a perfect character for her to be compelling. And
No, she's
Toph
super
is
compelling.
perfect. I love her and her imperfections.
I do love
and her lack of hygiene.
Yeah, she's disgusting, but love her. Appa got taken.
Appa got.
Appa got. So then the next like several episodes were them trying to find Appa and Aang being angsty.
Angsty, if you will. And if I remember correctly, currently you are living in the little bridge between Tales of Ba Sing Se and the episode titled Appa's Lost Days.
I watched Appa's Lost Days.
Are you okay?
I'm okay because Appa has been reunited with his family.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I'm
Yeah.
surprised I didn't get a text of you having a complete meltdown during Appa's last days.
I thought I did.
No,
Did
you
I
didn't
not?
text me.
Wow, I think I was just like going.
Yeah.
I had to get
Because
through
once
that.
you see Appa, you're like, I will not rest until he's with Aang again.
Poor Appa, he just really gets put through the ringer, and he's so tired, and he's trying to fly, and his little legs are in chains, and he's like, ugh, ugh. Also, the circus man, the evil circus man, like there's so much.
Any shipping updates before we move into the subject of this actual podcast?
Yes, sorry, I am still shipping Toph, Sokka, and Katara.
So you're Katang.
I'm still Katang. Yeah, I'm Katang because you can't not be on Aang's side. And also, like, who else is Katara gonna get with? Like, it's not gonna be Jet.
Okay. So speaking of content that Molly is consuming for the first time, this is Becca.
This is Molly.
We are here to talk about Jane Austen.
We are here specifically to talk about
Mansfield Park. Listeners, if you're new here, I, Becca, have read many Jane Austen novels through my lifetime.
And I, Molly, am reading all of her works for the first time through this podcast.
If you want to hear Molly read through Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, or Persuasion for the first time, you can listen to seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 of this podcast, respectively, but that is not what we're doing here today.
No, today we are talking about Volume 2, Chapters 11 and 12 of Mansfield Park.
And listeners, we should mention before we get too far into this, we are remote today because Molly's sniffly.
Yes.
Which means that we have to be apart for this massive revelation, which is devastating.
Oh my God. Yeah, it would have been fun to be in person, but we can squeal from our like 10 blocks distance that we live from each other.
Because why are we squealing, Molly?
Because Henry Crawford is in love.
In love. Oh, man. Yeah. So the man played himself, did Falling in Love for the bit, caught feelings. That's where we're at in this lifetime.
He did the bit a little too close to the sun.
Yeah. Just like Icarus a little bit through his flirtation.
Yeah.
Flirting too hard and catching feelings is such a vibe.
It's incredible. So where did we leave off, Becca?
We partied the night away with William and Henry and Edmund, and Fanny was really excited and happy about this ball. Edmund less excited about this ball because he was going to go get his orders and fought with Mary basically the whole night because of that. Henry flirting, Sir Thomas channeling his best Emma Woodhouse impression and trying to set up Henry and Fanny. And Mrs. Norris and Lady Bertram just generally vibing and being themselves, for better or for worse.
Yes. So William leaves the next morning after the ball, and Fanny goes to just cry alone. She's in the breakfast room, and Sir Thomas is like, I'm going to let you be so you can cry in here by yourself, because he thinks that she might be crying over both her brother and Henry's departure, because who drove William to where he needed to go?
Oh, Mr. Henry Crawford.
Oh, Mr. Henry Crawford.
And also, just putting this out there, it is really funny that Sir Thomas is noticing this when this is actually how Mariah was when Henry left last time.
Yeah. Interesting that he's noticing Fanny so much more.
Interesting that he's noticing Fanny so much more.
What if this is crazy? This is crazy, but I'm on cold medication, so I'm just going to say it.
Okay. Yeah, say it.
What if Sir Thomas is Fanny's real dad?
I will neither confirm. Actually, no, I'm going to deny that.
Dang it! I got really excited about that when I thought it was on the money. Your face was so flat.
Yeah, no. I really, really want you to screenshot that when you download this for later so that our listeners can see how straight a face, or like screen record it so how our listeners can see how straight a face I kept when you said that. And I thought about it. I was like, do I let her pull that thread for a while? But then I was like, no, because it's really just not the direction the book's going in. And also then we can't really talk about the themes as clearly if she's stuck on this.
For sure. No, that's fair.
It's like when you thought that Eleanor and Brandon were the love story in Sense and Sensibility.
Well, if we've learned anything from the Aang gang, it's that the friendship was the real love story all along.
The friendships were really the Fire Lords we defeated along the way or something like that.
Defeating the Fire Lords was the friendships we made along the way.
This is a Jane Austen podcast.
Yes. All right. So Fanny is distressed about her brother being gone. She's feeling like she wasted half their time together on trivial matters. And Fanny feels guilty when she doesn't show Mrs. Norris enough attention. So up the stakes of that to her brother, she's feeling guilty.
Yes.
Even though they had like a lovely visit.
Oh, yeah. He had a great time.
Yeah. But it's Fanny. And I get this.
Yeah. She's got what we'd call social anxiety nowadays.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Then it said that after second breakfast, Edmund leaves for a week. And I had to pause because is second breakfast a real thing in England?
So second breakfast, as far as I can tell, is a Hobbit thing and not an England thing.
Because my notes say, what's next? 11sies?
I know. I saw that and I chuckled to myself because it was adorable. But I think in this particular instance, this is like one of those like Fanny got up early to have breakfast with William and Henry before William left.
Yeah.
And
she got hungry again and needed second breakfast.
Well, everybody else wakes up later and has like a more formal breakfast together. And remember, they were up really late. They're hungover and they'll have it a little later.
You're so right. Not everyone got up to have breakfast at whatever time it was. That makes a lot more sense. I was like, this must be a British thing that everyone does, but it's just a practical thing for the moment. So now there's no one in the house that Fanny can talk to because after second breakfast, Edmund leaves and he's gone for a week. So now there is nobody in the house for Fanny to talk to, and she really wants to talk about the ball. Because, you know, that post-party feel where you want to debrief with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person she can talk to is Lady Bertram. And she's like, oh, do you remember this? And Lady Bertram's like,
no,
I don't remember a dang thing. She said, I don't know who this man is.
I don't know who this man is, but I'm sorry to this man.
Sorry to this man. Lady Bertram just like, did she fall asleep at the party? Like she didn't catch anything.
I think Lady Bertram's like technically awake, but not really all the time.
Yeah.
Like she's not really aware of anything except her Mr. Wobbles.
And was Mr. Wobbles at the party?
That's a really good question. My heart says yes, because he's wearing like the beautiful little doublet and like doing a little dance on his hind legs, like Wishbone in the Pride and Prejudice Wishbone. But realistically, I think probably not.
Yeah. But I don't like to think of him all alone upstairs listening to the music and thinking, where's my mother?
Maybe he's just like in his mommy's arms the whole time.
Probably.
Yeah. She seems like a girl who'd bring a dog to a party.
She does. And she's complaining that she feels very stupid, that she like can't get anything done. She needs Fanny to keep her awake. So to keep her awake, Fanny plays cribbage with her, which just so happens to be one of my favorite games to play.
Well, there you go.
So I was very excited about this. And Mel, too. We play cribbage together. My mom taught it to us, and we were like...
Did you turn to Mel and be like, they're playing cribbage in Jane Austen?
100%. And then Mel was like, I had no idea it was that old. And I was like, I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fun. Cribbage Squad, rise up. My friend got married, and her and her husband play cribbage all the time with their grandma or aunt. She's like, I don't remember her name, but she was awesome. And so at the after party, like, or the next day party, like the goodbye
Brunch or whatever,
thing,
yeah.
yeah, her aunt, we were like, "Can you bring cribbage to that?" And she was like, "Yeah." And so she brought it, and we were just playing cribbage in the corner and like rotating through partners, and it was the best.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah. So they're playing, and Sir Thomas is reading, and it is just silent. And Fanny thinks about how much difference 24 hours can make because just last night, this was a what's the word? This was a rollicking good time. And now it's just quiet, boring people playing games and reading.
Yeah, she's got that post-party hangover where she's like, "Ugh, I want the party back."
Yeah. The next day, though, she feels a little bit better because she gets to discuss the ball with Mrs. Grant and Miss Crawford. And who better to talk about a ball with than Miss Crawford, honestly?
Well, actually, probably a lot of people when it comes to this ball because there is one hater of this ball, it's Mary Crawford,
True. That is true. Mary Crawford did have a bad time.
which she goes into ample detail
Yes,
on.
she sure does. But not yet. So Fanny chills out after they talk about the ball, and she feels like this is good practice for her for when Edmund is gone forever. And she sort of gives herself a little pat on the back for being able to be chill and have conversations with her uncle. She's like able to converse with him, which she's proud of. And so the first day, Sir Thomas makes a comment at dinner about how the two young men are very missed. But then he sees Fanny start to tear up and he shuts up. And the two young men is William and Edmund.
Mhm.
The second day, he says he hopes William will come to visit them often, but of course they have to get used to Edmund being gone. And then Lady Bertram says that everyone is going away and she wishes they would all just stay home. This particularly being targeted at Julia, who was supposed to come home like today, but had written home to request permission to go into town with Mariah. So she's going to continue to be gone.
Well, like we said, Mariah is now Mariah Rushworth, and she's throwing epic parties in London. And it's more fun than hanging out with just Fanny and her parents in the country.
Yes. So can't fault her for that. After some silence at the dinner table, Lady Bertram comments that she is glad that they took Fanny in because now that everyone is gone, they can really feel the benefit of having Fanny around.
Hmm.
You know, appreciating her now that she's the only one there.
Yeah, all it took was all the other children leaving.
Yeah. And Sir Thomas agrees. And Lady Bertram is like, good thing we'll always have Fanny. And he's like, well, yeah, we'll have Fanny until she's invited to another home that will make her happier. And Lady Bertram's like, well, that's unlikely. Who would invite her? Like, she's going to be invited to visit Mariah, but she would never ask her to live there.
Oh, Lady Bertram.
Ugh.
Sir Thomas is in the corner being like, well, maybe she'll go somewhere where they love her even more. And Lady Bertram's like, she has nowhere to go.
Who would love her?
No.
So sad.
Well, she's not thinking of marriage in this moment, clearly, where Sir Thomas is very obviously thinking of marriage.
Yeah.
Lady Bertram's like, no, she doesn't have any other relatives. What are you talking about?
Right. And like, Lady Bertram should be thinking of marriage because they just had Fanny's coming out ball, but she's not really putting two and two together.
Well, if you recall, Lady Bertram, first of all, can't put two and two together. Second of all,
No.
doesn't remember anything
Right.
about this ball.
Right.
It basically didn't happen.
Correct.
It's the same as cribbage.
Yeah. So while Fanny is enjoying the quiet of this time, Mary is going stir crazy. And while Fanny is experiencing some relief with Edmund being gone getting ordained, Mary is upset because one, she misses him, and two, she's pissed that he's getting ordained. She was so angry that, in fact, at the ball, they hardly parted as friends, in quotes. She is also angry that he left for a whole week when she is supposed to be leaving so soon for her friend trip. And, you know, he knows that. So why would he leave now? But she also has regrets for how she spoke to him because apparently words were exchanged and she wishes that she hadn't said some of those things. It was a big fight.
Big old fight. Do you have any guesses as to sort of how this went down or what is going through Edmund's mind with respect to this?
She probably said, "Is this the last time we're gonna dance together? Like, are you still gonna get ordained?" And he probably said, "Yes, I'm still going tomorrow to go get ordained, and I'm gonna be gone for a week." And she probably said precisely, but along the lines of, like, "Then I'm never gonna see you again, because 1, I'm never gonna hang out with a clergyman, and 2, I'm gonna be gone when you get back, probably.
So goodbye forever.
So bye forever, and fuck you." And he probably said, "I was gonna come back to say goodbye to you, but now I'm not gonna." And she probably was like, "Well, I'm not gonna wait for you to get back." And I don't know if any of that actually happened, but because basically he's leaving for a week and she doesn't know when she's gonna leave exactly, but it's like supposed to be soon. And then when he doesn't come back after the week mark, she's like, "Now I'm really never gonna see him again because I'm actually leaving now." Though we don't actually see her leave in these 2 chapters, but we see her talk about leaving. But yeah, so basically, like, ultimatums were given, things were said, like, that can't really be unsaid, and I think that he wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. And that probably also has to do with why he was like, "Fanny, can we just dance in silence?"
Yep. Which does kind of put a damper on it for Fanny, where she was all upset and sad. And then he was like, "Can I just like not talk to you?" And she was like, "Perfect."
Yeah, yeah. But I think that, like, hardly parted friends at the ball is Jane Austen's way of saying they broke up.
So you think they broke up?
I think they broke up, and now Mary's having regrets. And
Mhm.
she doesn't
Okay.
really think that it's a permanent breakup, but I think he thinks it's a permanent breakup.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's what
that's
I
where you're
think.
at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so his week is up and he says he's not coming back. And Mary goes into a tailspin because Mr. Owen, who he's visiting, has sisters.
I hate this, but I cannot lie. I relate to Mary in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. It's I'm so sorry to do it, but we were on a break. It has it written all over it.
Oh my god.
Like, that's what's going on here. Like, she's worried that he's gonna come back married to someone else, and she's gonna be upset, and he's gonna be like, "We were broken up," and she's gonna be like, "We were on a break." That's what I think's gonna happen.
Do you think they're the Ross? They are actually legitimately the Ross and Rachel of the Jane Austen world. Oh my god.
They kind of are.
As I'm thinking about it, it's actually a perfect metaphor because she's kind of spoiled and full of herself, and he is insufferably like pompous.
Yeah.
And then they just like break up and get back together and flirt with each other and get jealous about each other. Oh my god.
Yeah.
My whole life is flashing before my eyes.
And the thing is, in this case, it depends what happens while he's gone, but, like, I think that he is gonna think they're over and gonna marry someone else. But if it were nowadays, he would go and hook up with someone else and she would be upset and he would say we were on a break. In this case, he's gonna go get married and she's gonna be like, "We weren't fully broken up." And he's gonna be like, "Yes, we were."
Okay, I'm gonna neither confirm nor deny any of that.
Cool. But I'm glad that we found this.
I feel like I've like unlocked like something in my brain
Yeah,
here.
Becca's having a brain blast right now.
I really just like I'm my brain is like scrambling into eggs right now. Like it's I'm So anyway, Jane
So
Austen.
anyway, yes, so sisters, and also she's worried that she's gonna leave before he returns. So Mary is thirsty for info, and she thinks that Fanny is the person to give it to her.
It's her best bet, honestly, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. As soon as she can get Fanny alone, she asks about Edmund, being like, "Oh, like, do you miss him? Are you surprised that he's staying away longer?" She assumes that Fanny is the greatest sufferer of them all because she's the only young person in the home. But that's not why Fanny is the greatest sufferer of them all. She asks Fanny to give him her compliments in case she leaves before he returns. And I wanted to read this quote. Yes, I think it must be compliments. Is there not a something wanted, Miss Price, in our language, a something between compliments and love to suit the sort of friendly acquaintance we have had together? So many months' acquaintance, but compliments may be sufficient here. It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, and also just like how has crafting text messages and letters not changed?
You're so right. She's like, "I can't just say happy trails."
I can't just be like, "Hey, sup." I need to like acknowledge him in some way, but like I also can't be like, "I'm so sorry, I love you." Like, what am I saying that's like conveying that I'm chill but care?
Right. Yeah, it's tough, and I love that it's the same. It makes me feel interconnected with all of humanity, and that's also because there are astronauts on the moon. But they're not on the moon, but you know what I mean.
They circled the moon.
There are astronauts circling the moon right now, and it's really beautiful, so I'm feeling very interconnected with humanity already.
Is it because you also read Project Hail Mary?
And it's because I read up. Yeah. And Ryan Gosling is so handsome.
He truly is.
Yeah.
Truly is. Yeah.
Anyway, so Mary asks about the letter that Edmund wrote to like say he was gonna stay longer, and she's wondering if he said why. And Fanny was like, "Well, it was a short letter, and I only heard part of it as it was addressed to my uncle." And Mary's like, "Oh, well, if he had written it to you, it would have been much more detailed, I'm sure." Which, I'm sure Fanny is like, "Really? You think so?" Then she starts asking Fanny about the Owen girls. And Fanny tells her there are three grown up, so three out. And Mary asks if they're musical. And Fanny's like, I don't know. And then Mary goes on and on about how they're probably very beautiful and accomplished.
There's at least one beauty amongst them.
Yes, and two of them must know how to play the piano, and the third one definitely plays harp. I'm sure of it.
Not harp flirting.
Yeah, she's nervous about someone playing the harp.
She's like, you can't harp cheat on me.
Yeah, but I can totally picture this interaction where she's like trying to be chill, and she's like, I bet she looks just like me. Ha 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 ha.
It's like, oh, yeah, it's fine. So three daughters and they're all out. Wow, they must be beautiful. They must have musical accomplishments to them. I bet they're all gunning after this beautiful young clergyman that is amongst them because we all know he is a beautiful man.
Imagine saying that to someone who wasn't in love with their cousin. That's like telling someone that their brother is hot. Just saying. But I won't harp on that this episode.
The fact that they're cousins?
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
Are we going to harp more on the fact that Fanny and Edmund are cousins or more on the fact that Mariah was engaged when she was flirting with Henry?
I don't know. It's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up.
So Fanny's like, I literally know nothing about these sisters. And Mary is like, well, I can see you couldn't care less. She says, quote, never did tone express indifference plainer. Indeed, how can one care for those one has never seen? And I think that this is implying that Fanny is very good at hiding her emotions.
I think in this moment, it's specifically like Mary is all up in her face and she's like, do you know? And Fanny's like, no, I don't know. And Mary's kind of like freeze framed out her like real close and then just kind of backs off. She's like, yeah, of course not. Why would you care?
Yeah, why would
You wouldn't
anyone care?
You don't know her. Why
Yeah.
why would you care about that?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Like that's the vibes that Mary is giving off in this scene. Like she is trying to get as much information as possible in the least chill way possible.
And then she's like trying to be chill afterwards. She's like, yeah,
But
totally.
she's like, but I'm cool. I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn it.
So Mary says that when Edmund returns, it will be very quiet with all the noisy ones gone. Noisy ones being Mary, Henry, and William. And Fanny's like, yeah, we'll all miss you a lot. And Mary is like waiting patiently for Fanny to say more about how much she'll miss her. But when Fanny doesn't, she's like, well, if anyone misses me, they know where to find me.
Well, I think she's hoping she'll be like, and of course Edmund will miss you the most.
Yes.
Because I think what Mary is looking for here is actually something I think that Fanny could feasibly offer her, which is some indication of what Edmund's feeling.
Yeah, but Fanny doesn't want to offer her that.
She sure doesn't, because the thing that Mary did not account for is that Fanny also wants Edmund.
Right.
Like, she's going to her and she's being like, so in her brain, she's like, I think it even says this in the books, if anybody knows, it's Fanny.
Right. Because they're best friends.
Exactly. And Fanny's like, I'm not going to tell you what he says about you.
That is 100% what is happening here, huh?
And Fanny's like, I will miss you. Stop. And I would think what Mary's hoping for is, especially Edmund, you know that.
Right. And Fanny does not give that to her.
To be fair to Fanny, one, I think she is protecting Edmund's confidence.
Yeah.
Two, I think if she were honest, it would be a disappointing answer to Mary, which is that Edmund, as of last time speaking to Fanny, has been like not marrying that girl.
Right.
But he's also really attracted to her and changes his mind constantly. So,
Yeah. So then she says that if anyone misses her, they know where to find her, meaning like Edmund can still reach out to me. And then Fanny doesn't say anything to be like, I'm sure he will. And then she gets angsty and asks Fanny how she would like it if one of the Miss Owens were to be settled at Thornton Lacey, because she's sure they're all after Edmund, being that he's Edmund Bertram, sexy clergyman, and their father and brother are clergymen, and they can all go be clergymen together. Then Mary says, quote, honestly, do you not rather expect it than otherwise? Meaning the daughters are going after Edmund. He's probably going to marry one of them. And Fanny is like, absolutely not. I do not expect that. To which Mary replies with alacrity, which means brisk and cheerful readiness. So Mary likes this answer.
well, like I said, she's looking for the response.
Yes, she wants any hint as to what Edmund is feeling. And so when Fanny's like, he's not going to marry one of them, Mary's like, who do you think he's going to marry then?
And Mary's like, oh, that must mean he might be otherwise attached.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But what she says is, you think he's not likely to marry at all or not right now? And Fanny is like, I do not think he's going to marry. And Mary is like, good.
This is the good answer
This is
she
good.
wants.
Yeah, at least not right now. Which brings us to chapter 12.
And we spent a long time on chapter 11, which is mostly just Mary and her feelings, but we got to make way for chapter 12.
Make way for chapter 12, which is Henry and his feelings.
And he has them.
He does.
It makes me think of the part of the Grinch where he goes, help me, I'm feeling.
Oh my God. That's really good. So Henry returns that night and he is in a good mood. And Mary still can't figure out why he went to London, but she suspects that maybe he's hiding some sort of a surprise for her.
I love that approach to life, honestly.
Yeah, she's like, oh, he probably just went to get me a trinket.
Yeah, it's just a little treat for me.
But he does surprise her the next day when he goes to call on the Bertrams for what he says is going to be 10 minutes, and then he's gone an hour and a half. And when he comes back, he says that he was just sitting with Lady Bertram and Fanny. And she's like, for an hour and a half? And he says, well, I couldn't get away sooner. Fanny looked so lovely. And Mary, you will not be surprised to learn that I am determined to marry Fanny Price.
He is determined to marry Fanny Price. He's determined to marry Fanny Price.
Thrilling stuff.
What was your reaction?
I felt this coming in my bones.
Yes.
What like I said, I am a studier of rom-coms. I know a trope when I see one, and this was coming.
Getting caught in his own feelings just because he flirted too hard.
It's not possible to flirt for the bit in a book. Like,
it is not.
you can flirt with whoever you want in real life, but if you're flirting with the intention to make someone fall in love with you for the bit, you're gonna fall in love with them.
Yep, that's how stories work. You take your How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. She's All That. 27 Dresses. Over and over again. Flirting for the bit.
10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Excellent.
yes. If you have an ulterior motive, your intentions will become pure halfway through.
Oh no! My intentions have become pure and I cannot get up. It's like a help button.
Like, help me, my intentions have changed. Now they're fine and not problematic.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into it, but like,
Yeah. So Mary is surprised, but she is also pleased. She is fine with her brother marrying a little beneath him, as it would mean a connection with the Bertram family. I have thoughts about this. Well, I guess I don't know if I have thoughts so much as questions. So, she would have been fine marrying Edmund Bertram if he were not becoming a clergyman, even though he's a little bit below her financially, right? Like, if he was not a clergyman, she would marry him.
I mean, the Bertrams themselves are not below her financially.
Okay.
He's just a second son. And so, like, that changes the economics of dating Jane Austen on that match. She has a healthy dowry, but Sir Thomas has a title and he's landed gentry.
I see. Oh, but Fanny is below them because Fanny is not technically a Bertram.
No, she is not technically a Bertram and she does not have any dowry
Right.
at all. So Mary is a plum match, but she wants to put herself in a position where she has a fancy big estate house and she has a fancy townhome in London. She wants Maria Bertram's life, but she also wants Edmund.
Right.
And so Edmund, while he's the son of a gentleman with like significant lands, and like Thomas, his older brother, Big T,
Oh, yeah, I forgot
is
about
like
him.
a plum match. That is like a rich, rich match, but he's also kind of an idiot and maybe gay.
He is gay.
Like definitely gay, and not appealing to Mary. Edmund's the one that's appealing. So she wants Thomas Bertram's inheritance, but on Edmund Bertram, the lowly rector.
Probably she has to murder Tom Bertram so that he can be the first son.
That would be the simplest solution to her problem.
Yeah.
But as it is, this is a Jane Austen novel. And so she's just conflicted. She lives in conflict with herself where she wants to be with Edmund, but she doesn't want what he has to offer economically.
But she's still happy that Henry will marry someone with connections to the Bertram family so she can keep his eyes in her life, essentially.
Yeah.
Got it. So Henry says that he is in love and he thinks that he's started to make progress on her feelings as well. And Mary is like, well, of course, she is the luckiest girl in the world, and I approve this match. Quote, you will have a sweet little wife, all gratitude and devotion. Ugh. I love some of these passages with them talking about Fanny, but I also don't always love how they talk about Fanny, as we know.
Yeah, let's talk about it because it is a mix of a lot of things and it's coming from two different actors.
Sweet little wife.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who has a very gentle voice,
Mhm.
and I think you're gonna know who I'm talking about, who people assume is sweet because she has a sweet voice and dimples, and she hates being assumed to be sweet because she's like a very kind and good person.
Would probably cut you down with a sword.
She definitely could, and like that is like the energy, the like condescension of being like, oh, what a sweet little thing.
Yeah, it's the little for me. Like, I know Fanny's small, but saying sweet little wife just sounds wrong.
Yeah, and like the way that like yeah, well we'll get into it.
We'll get into
it.
some later things, but yeah, soon. She also says that Fanny has some true friends in the Bertram family who will rejoice in this match. She is particularly talking about Edmund, thinking that Edmund will be so pleased that Fanny has found such a good match because they're friends and cousins. And now Mary wants the whole story. She's like, when did you fall for her? When did this stop being a game for you? Tell me everything.
Tell me everything.
I love this little dish session. And he loves being asked, so he milks it. He's like, "Oh, I don't know when did I fall in love?"
But remember, like this is actually kind of a big deal because Henry Crawford, when we met him at the beginning of this book, was like, marriage is a sham and I'll never do it.
Oh my god, you're so right. So he's just like genuinely, I mean, this is sweet. This whole he talks very pretty in these
Yeah, he
chapters.
talks very pretty.
He talks very pretty. He says, nothing could be more impossible than to answer such a question, though nothing be more agreeable than to have it asked. How the pleasing plague had stolen on him, he could not say. And so he's like, keeps being like, I really don't know, like, what was the exact moment? And then Mary's like, wait a minute. Is this why you went to London to consult with the Admiral about the decision before you got married? And Henry's like, no, that wasn't it. The Admiral hates marriage. But he knows that once the Admiral meets Fanny, he will love her because she is the perfect woman. And Mary agrees that, in fact, Fanny is the perfect woman since Henry doesn't need money and her connections are pretty good. But, like, personality-wise, perfect woman.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hard pressed to find a better wife than Fanny Price.
Yeah. And then Mary is like, "What's your plan? Does Fanny know how you feel?" He's like, "No." She says, "What are you waiting for?" And he says, "Only the opportunity to ask her. I think she's gonna say yes."
Why does he think that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Why would he think that?
Um, because she has been nice to him, and he's got no reason to think she doesn't like him. Mary thinks she will say yes because she wouldn't have it in her to say no. It's a little deeper than that.
Yeah, no, 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 it's a good point. We can unpack that. Mary says something very interesting there.
Yes, she says, first of all, she's probably already in love with you, but even if she isn't, and that's just the two Crawfords being cocky, but even if she isn't, quote, "The gentleness and gratitude of her disposition would secure her all your own immediately." She doesn't think that Fanny would marry without love, but ask her to love you, and she will never have the heart to refuse.
Well, to be fair, does Jane Austen disagree with this perception of Fanny?
Yes. I think that we're supposed to for me, when I read this, I had to pause and be like, "Mary, what the fuck? Be a girl's girl."
Oh, no, Mary is not a girl's
No,
girl.
and we know this about her, and Fanny knows this about her. But I think that Jane Austen wants us to be like, "Record scratch, what did you say?" Because it's one thing to assume that Fanny is already in love with him. She's given no indication that she is. But another thing to think that she'll marry him just because she's so lucky and grateful to be chosen by someone that she'd better say yes, and that's something they should applaud themselves for.
Well, that's not exactly what she's saying here. Well, I think it is undeniable that underlying this whole conversation is you are such a better match than she could have hoped for.
Yeah.
And boy, she'll not be able to say no to this. It's like an unrefusable proposal for a girl like Fanny.
Yes, but you're right that that's not exactly what she's saying because Mary says that Fanny isn't gonna marry without love.
I think what I'm hearing, if I'm giving Mary the generous interpretation, and a lot of what she says here, I don't think should get a generous interpretation. She is saying Fanny is someone of a soft heart who will love who loves her. Is she wrong?
Yes.
Hear me out.
Wait, I'm thinking.
Okay.
My first thought was yes, because she loves Edmund, but Edmund doesn't love her, but Edmund loves her as a friend.
Here's the thing. Edmund showed her 3 iotas of kindness when she was 10 years old, and she was gone for life.
True.
And what Jane Austen says when Henry starts flirting with Fanny is there are women of 18 who would be able to see through Henry's bullshit and be able to like flip it off. Fanny is not one of those girls, but she's protected by the fact that she has a crush on somebody else.
Right. She did say exactly that.
So it is an interesting, like, Mary's condescending here, but she's half right.
She kind of is. Yeah, no, sure. I agree with you.
But there's a real question about how pliable is Fanny Price at play here.
Yeah, well, it's interesting though because well, I guess she's still been protected for the last couple of chapters, but prior to the ball, she said that she was gonna get over Edmund Bertram. Girl did not, but she did say that, and then Henry proceeded to be nice to her for the whole ball, and she still didn't fall in love with him that we know of.
I mean, we were in her head.
Yeah, I
We
think
were
we
in
would
her
have
head.
heard.
She was not vibing what he was putting down.
Right. So once again, I don't know why he thinks that she's in love with him other than self-absorption and cockiness.
I think there's just a bias here of like she would be crazy not to. It would be a psychotically good match for her.
Yes.
Like it's a killing in terms of the marriage mart.
Yes. And also for him who has up until this point said that he was never going to marry, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's flirted with tons of women, But I don't know that he would know the difference between someone flirting with him for fun and someone being in love with him, and Fanny has never even flirted with him, so her gentle kindness that she shows to pretty much everyone, he might be taking for love. We don't know.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Then he goes into a deep dive about Fanny's many attributes and how beautiful and perfect she is. He talks about her temper, her patience, her forbearance for dealing with the Bertrams and constantly being patient with them. How wonderful she is when she's with her brother. He even loves her principles and her religion. And the quote is, though he was too little accustomed to them to know what to call them, he is like talking about her discipline and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's her principles and her devotion to God. And he loves that about her. And he also, most of all, wants a wife that he can confide in. And he feels like he could tell Fanny anything.
Which is just about the sweetest thing a person can say.
Is very sweet. And Mary rejoices that his little project has worked out so well for everyone involved and nothing could possibly go wrong.
Yeah, nothing could possibly go wrong. Where are we in this book?
Just a little over halfway.
Yeah, nothing can go wrong.
Yeah. He admits that his plan to get Fanny to fall in love with him was bad, bad, bad. It was not good. But now he will make Fanny happy, happy, happy.
Changed a man, it changed a man.
Yes, he's like, that was wrong of me, but I will make up for it now. His plan now is to let his estate and rent a place in this neighborhood. And Mary is like, that's perfect. Then we can all be together. And then she's like, oh shit, can't be talking about marrying Edmund in this company after my fight with him and blah 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 blah. But Henry doesn't catch on to her internal panic and he's like, yeah, of course she lives here, so we'll all be together. And he invites her to stay with him and Fanny half of her time because Fanny will be her sister. And Mary thinks to herself that she won't be their guest much longer. I think I was kind of confused by this. Is she saying that she is going to marry Edmund? Like she won't be a house guest much longer because she's going to have her own estate?
I think she's saying she wants to get married soon. Because, like, what's the quote?
Mary had only but to be grateful and give general assurances, but she was now very fully purposed to be the guest neither of brother nor sister many months longer. So like she wants to get married.
I think, yeah, and I do think she does want Edmund back.
Yes. Okay. I also think that.
Yeah.
So we learn that Henry is going to divide his time between London and Northamptonshire, but get his own place in London. And Mary is glad that he will be finally leaving the Admiral because she hates him. It is only at this point that I realize the Admiral is their uncle, who she literally fled from.
Yes, that's the guy.
Yeah. And Henry is like, listen, he's like a father to me. Very few fathers would have let me get away with so much so often. And he's like, please don't talk to Fanny about him. I need him to like her. I need her to like him. And Mary thinks there could not possibly be two people less likely to enjoy each other's company than those two. So Mary says that she knows Fanny will not grow to hate the name Crawford the same way that her poor aunt did. She knows that as long as Henry loves her, Fanny will be happy. And when he ceases to love her, he will still be a gentleman, unlike their terrible uncle. But he believes he will never cease to love Fanny Price. And it says, quote, the impossibility of not doing everything in the world to make Fanny Price happy or of ceasing to love Fanny Price was, of course, the groundwork of his eloquent answer, which I shall now read. Had you seen her this morning, Mary, attending with such ineffable sweetness and patience to all the demands of her aunt's stupidity, working with her and for her, her color beautifully heightened as she leant over the work, then returning to her seat to finish a note which she was previously engaged in writing for that stupid woman's service, and all this with such unpretending gentleness, so much as if it were a matter of course that she was not to have a moment at her own command, her hair arranged as neatly as it always is, and one little curl falling forward as she wrote, which she now and then shook back. And in the midst of all this, still speaking at intervals to me, or listening, and as if she liked to listen to what I said. Had you seen her so, Mary, you would not have implied the possibility of her power over my heart ever ceasing.
Oh my God, you look like you're gonna throw up in a good way.
Yeah, it's like really. It's beautiful. We haven't heard Fanny talked about like that before, and he is smitten.
Yeah, she is being, like, perceived.
Yeah. And she's just being like going about her day. And he has never met someone so I think it's the unpretending. Like, she's not putting on any airs. She's just kind and gentle. And he's like, "Oh, she's just doing her thing." And then she's being asked to do all this other stuff and she doesn't complain about it. She just does it. But then she's like not getting annoyed. She's just still doing her thing. And then she still wants to talk to me. And she like even listens to what I have to say. And who is this perfect woman? It's almost too much pressure for her. Like, I want her to be able to have feelings about stuff, but I think he just loves how much she doesn't mind.
Like, tell me, do you think he, like, loves Fanny for Fanny?
Well, he hasn't really gotten to know Fanny for Fanny, to be honest. He likes a lot of things about her.
Well, what does he not know about Fanny?
One that she's in love with her cousin.
That's a pretty biggie.
Yeah. He doesn't know that she loves plants. I don't think he knows about her love of nature. They've never talked about a book. I'm sure she reads. He doesn't know what she's writing in her little note. He doesn't know what she likes or dislikes. He just knows that she's obedient and kind and pretty and patient. Patient is a big one. But he doesn't actually know like what she wants out of life. And he doesn't know her taste. He gave her an ugly necklace.
He gave her bucatini and not angel hair.
Yeah. She's an angel hair girly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think, like, it is an interesting question about how he's feeling about her right now because, like, he does spend a lot of time with her, and in some very sad way, almost nobody knows Fanny. Edmund misses out on big portions of who she is, evidenced by his telling her to, like, obey Mrs. Norris and him being obtuse about her horse. Obviously, the rest of the Bertrams don't really know Fanny. The only person who really has a claim to knowing her deeply is William.
Yeah.
And here comes Henry Crawford, and who's like, Mr. I don't want to settle down, marriage isn't for me kind of guy. And something about spending weeks on end trying to get Fanny Price to notice him and flirt with him has made him perceive her in a certain way. And it's hard to tell how much of that is to do with Fanny and how much of that is to do with Henry. Like, what is it about Fanny that's got Henry up in knots in particular? And is it Fanny herself or something that Henry's projecting onto Fanny?
I don't know.
It's something that we don't have to answer.
Yeah.
That's the beauty.
Yeah.
It's literature.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing.
So Mary is happy to see him happy, and she asks what he thinks Mariah and Julia will say. And he's like, I don't care what they think. I hope they see how their cousin ought to be treated and they feel bad about how they've treated her in the past. I hope that, like, I can raise her consequence by just being with her and get her, like, all that is due to her.
Yeah.
Right now, she is friendless and forgotten. And I'm going to flip her frown upside down. And Mary's like, well, she's not forgotten by everyone. She's remembered by her friend Edmund. And Henry is like, yeah, Edmund is nice to her. Sir Thomas is kind of nice to her, but it'll be nothing compared to how nice I'm going to be to her. And that's the end of that chapter.
A doozy, if you will.
Yes.
Which brings us to the study questions. Okay, listeners, if you want us to ask your questions on the air, Molly most of the time submits a Google Doc for people to submit their questions.
Savage.
And if you're at the $15 tier on our Patreon, you can submit your questions for us to ask. So I'm going to start with some questions for last week's episode because, as you may remember, you guys didn't get a chance to submit for that week, so we're doing it a little belatedly. So here are a couple from our patrons for last week. So Emily asks, Edmund would have been educated at boarding school for a large part of Fanny's life, and we learned that Edmund has never written her a letter. Does this change how you see the relationship when they were young?
Yes, because like you said earlier in this episode, he showed her one iota of kindness and she was devoted to him for life. and he wasn't even there for a lot of their childhood because he was away at school, and he's never written her a letter before, so, like, this is a very one-sided crush. Like, there's not even communication happening in between, and I don't know how long schooling lasted then.
I don't know. Someone can tell us how long young men of Edmund's stature would be sent away to boarding school. He's 20, he's in his early 20s now.
Yeah,
So he presumably would have done the whole like Eton Oxford situation.
right. So, yeah, he should have written her a letter.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it means to me that Fanny is used to living off of breadcrumbs of attention from Edmund in a way that's not apparent in the beginning of this novel.
And it's not because she doesn't have an example of positive masculinity. Her brother writes her all the time.
From the sea.
Right. So if he wanted to, he would, ladies.
If he wanted to, he would, ladies. Okay. Avi asks, in these chapters, we see the Crawfords being actively helpful towards Fanny and William. What do you make of this? Is this genuine or is there something more sinister beneath it?
I had this question too, Avi, because why was Mary going to give Fanny the chain?
I'm going to refrain from answering.
Okay. I wondered, like, did she know that Fanny didn't have a chain and she wanted to give her a chain out of the goodness of her heart? I know we talked about this a lot, but I still don't know, like, if Henry wanted to give Fanny a gift of a necklace and he did it through his sister, which is a possibility, how did he know she needed a necklace? And if it didn't come from him at all, I mean, it was obviously from him, but, like, if he had no idea and this was just a Mary thing, like, was it because she wanted Edmund to be so proud of her? Did she know that Edmund had ordered a chain? I don't know, but
Or it was Mary just trying to be nice.
or was she just trying to be nice? And, like, I feel like I've just been trying to, like, come up with ulterior motives, and I don't know. And then, obviously, I mean, for me, it's obvious. I think I'm right about this. I think, Henry just was kind to William and took him to London because he wanted Fanny to be impressed that he did something nice for her brother.
Also, I think there is something to Henry's perception of William as kind of making him a smaller man because of William's service for the country.
You think that he's trying to make William smaller?
No, I think that William makes Henry feel small.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think he makes Henry feel shallow and unimportant because William's so attentive and William gets all this attention from Fanny and William fights for Her Majesty's Royal Navy and Henry's like, wow, my life is kind of meaningless, which is why he offers him his horse.
And his carriage.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So there is something philosophically interesting about what the prices do to Henry that kind of is like it goes into this chapter as well, but I actually think there is something about the prices that make Henry feel like his life needs more meaning, which is interesting.
Yeah,
Really interesting.
it is interesting.
Okay. Spring asks, we see Edmund offer Fanny tokens of affection he never had before, including waiting for her in her room, writing a letter, calling her one of my dearest objects, even as he's more and more smitten with Mary. What do you make of this?
Well, I kind of thought in the moment, like, looking back on it, listening to last week's episode, I was like, maybe he's being more kinder to Fanny and showing Fanny more attention because he's fighting with Mary. And he has more room in his life to be noticing other women.
Hmm.
That's what I read into that. I didn't actually read him as more and more smitten with Mary in this moment, to be honest.
No, he's pretty pissed at Mary in this moment.
Yeah, except for when he finds out that she also gave him a chain or gave Fanny a chain. He was like, "Oh, she did really?" But he doesn't call Fanny a dear object at the ball, though he does kind of give her an uppy downy in the doorway. But
Oh, also, I should mention when we were talking about this last week and I was listening to our episode that just came out, we talked about all the men staring at Fanny
mhm.
at dinner, and it was family dinner, and it wasn't just Edmund. I realized also all the servants
Oh,
would have been
sure,
like looking at her too.
sure. Our girl's hot.
She's looking good. All right. That concludes last week's questions. Now we're in this week's questions. Listeners, we got so many questions for this week. Everyone's really excited to talk about Henry Crawford. We're going to get through as many as possible. So, Angelica asks, we seem to be seeing a different side of Henry here. How does this play into his naughty boy past? What would make his character redemption possible in your eyes? This, I think, is related to the very interesting question of, do people change? Which I think Jane Austen is asking in this book.
And I think that Jane Austen does believe that people can change. What would make his character redemption possible would be him apologizing. I mean, he just admitted that what he did was wrong, but I think he needs to admit it to the people that he wronged. So I don't think that's happening, but if he apologized to like Mariah and Julia and Fanny, because Fanny witnessed everything, that might make his character redemption possible. Though he started to redeem himself a little bit by admitting it to his sister. I also think that he needs to be a little bit less cocky. He can't be assuming that Fanny loves him.
Yeah. I think this chapter is a quintessential argument on both sides of the issue because you're right. He is cocky as shit in this chapter. He's very presumptuous and he kind of likes himself as this like white knight riding in to save poor little Fanny Price from her circumstances. At the same time, the very fact that Henry Crawford wants Fanny Price as his wife compared to the naughty boy we knew for most of this book who toyed with Mariah's reputation like it was nothing and ditched her and then decided to flirt with Fanny to try to make her fall in love with him for fun. There is something I can't get over that is so interesting about the fact that like Henry wants Fanny. Henry wants the change. He wants to be a different man.
Yeah, and also that he started this book saying he was never going to get married.
Yep. And he was the horrible flirt. And you go from being a horrible flirt to a guy who wants to tie down the most docile, mild mannered woman that England has to offer.
Yeah, big change.
Emily asks, many of the relationships in this book so far have had I can fix him energy. Henry Crawford's long explanations in this chapter about Fanny's character give us she can fix me instead. Is this a more reasonable expectation of success? I think this goes to exactly what we were just talking about. There is a she can fix me, there is an I can fix her to the whole thing. The fact that he wants to be fixed is the interesting part of the story to me.
Yes, and I think this question is asking if it would be a more reasonable expectation of success for Henry and Fanny for if she can fix me versus the I can fix them of Edmund and Mary, which I think is not going to be successful because neither of them want to be fixed and Henry wants to be fixed, like you said.
We'll leave it at that. Linnea asks, do you think Henry really does love Fanny? If yes, is it a lasting love like he swears it is?
I mean, we can never know if something's a lasting love, right? Like he's like, yeah, nothing will ever make me ever stop loving her, but all he can know is like, does he want to hang out with her today? Does he want to hang out with her tomorrow? Does he seem to want to hang out with her for the rest of his days? He does.
It does appear to be the case, yeah.
It does appear to be the case. I don't know, like, because we haven't actually seen them interact in a minute, except at the ball. I don't know if it's lasting. Like, it depends if she loves him back. Like, that's a big part of it. It can't last if she doesn't love him back, but I do think he loves her.
Okay. Avi asks, these chapters were largely told from Mary Crawford's point of view. What does that say about Mary's role in the story? And that's pretty similar to Spring's question, which is about your thoughts on the way we get deeper insight on Mary, her thoughts on Fanny, and the way her mind works.
I think that from this point forward, we're going to be following Mary and Henry more closely than we have in the past. So, like the first half of the book, well, I guess we've been following them closely for a while, but the first half of the book, they were the newcomers. So we got a lot of people learning about them. And now they are the focal points because they're both, I mean, Fanny's still the focal point, but like we want to know about Henry's love conquest and we want to know about how Mary is feeling about Edmund. So I think she's the main character.
Yeah, in some ways, Mary is she's not as much a main character as Fanny in this book, but she really is secondary to Fanny on that front. Like, you really do get a lot of Mary POV. I think Jane Austen does some really interesting things with making Fanny her main character because if you recall the first half of the book, Fanny was so ancillary to the story.
Right.
And now she's moved front and center in the story. And even in those moments, we're getting lots of perspective outside of Fanny, outside of what she's thinking about, which is a different take than say Pride and Prejudice, where we live in Lizzie Bennet's head for pretty much the entire story.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it does lend itself to Fanny's being a victim of her circumstances more than her being in control of her circumstances for whatever may come of that.
Totally.
All right. Flying Cupcake asks, it's only been a few weeks since Henry started trying to make Fanny fall in love with him. Why is he so convinced he's already succeeding? I think we kind of touched on this, but
Cockiness.
and
She's nice to him.
and
She would be crazy not to
because
because he's very rich.
economics of dating in Jane Austen, Graham the sound effect.
Bum ba da bum ba 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 ba.
I thought it's boom 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 ching.
You're right. I don't know what mine was.
Yeah, so I think it's not only is Henry just a generally arrogant guy who fancies himself a bit of a ladies' man, like he's trying to woo a woman with no dowry, and he's a wealthy man who could lure a woman of much greater means in, such as like a Mariah Bertram. So like again, this Fanny technically has the jackpot right now.
Yeah.
On paper, obviously. We've talked about this. Henry is a risky match for other reasons, but just going off the base, like the bias of how good the match would be makes people feel like it's impossible that she wouldn't.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, that concludes our patron study questions. Now we're going to move on to Becca's study questions. So, Mary, in her own words, is jealous about Edmund for the first time. What do you make of that in relation to our story?
First of all, it shows that she does not see Fanny as a threat at all because she, like, she's the girl best friend, but she doesn't see her as anything beyond that. So she has no need to be jealous until now. She also, like, was never really jealous of the church's place in his life. Like, she didn't want him to go into it, but I think that this is the first time she's actually seen a potential risk of losing him.
Yeah, and it's also just a really tough look for our girl, Fanny Price.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're reminded frequently of Henry's uncle in this section, the Admiral, and how bad of a husband he was. Why does Mary believe that Henry would be a better husband than the Admiral? And is she right? Would he be?
This is the exact quote. I just want to read it. Mary refrained from saying what she felt, that there could not be two persons in existence whose characters and manners were less accordant. Time would discover it to him. But she could not help this reflection on the Admiral. Henry, I think so highly of Fanny Price that if I could suppose the next Mrs. Crawford would have half the reason which my poor ill-used aunt had to abhor the very name, I would prevent the marriage if possible. But I know you, and I know that a wife you loved would be the happiest of women, and that even when you cease to love, she would yet find in you the liberality and good breeding of a gentleman. So she thinks that he would never cheat on Fanny or be cruel to her or be abusive or whatever was going on with the Admiral because she loves her brother and she thinks that he is a good person at heart. I don't know if he would be a better husband because he is, she literally said before that he is a horrible flirt. And also, like, he said he was never gonna marry. And now she's saying, well, once you're in love, you'll be the best husband ever. But this is like in direct conflict with things that she said earlier in the book. So that is a tough question to answer.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
All right.
I think we already kind of covered this. Why do you think Henry fell for Fanny?
Because he has never met a woman like her who is not putting on any kind of airs.
Yeah, and I think I still go back to what we were talking about with Henry's experience of seeing her with William.
Yes. Oh, yes, there's also a quote about that. To see her with her brother, what could more delightfully prove that the warmth of her heart was equal to its gentleness? What could be more encouraging to a man who had her love in view? Yeah, he's just enamored with her warmth and her genuineness.
There's something to this craving of a simpler life, like a simpler love than his like debaucherous existence that I just think is just I think it's the special sauce Jane Austen throws on Henry Crawford to pull us in a little bit,
Yeah,
despite his abhorrent behavior and his presumptuousness and his arrogance.
yeah.
Okay. Henry makes a lot of statements about who Fanny is and her relationships to the Bertrams. That specific passage where he speaks not only of how patient she is with Lady Bertram, but then goes on to say, I suppose Edmund is kind to her. I suppose Sir Thomas is sometimes kind to her. But in the upper class, relative, looking down upon you kind of manner. Do you think he's right?
I do. I think that he came in from an outside perspective. We talked about this a lot in the first part where we were watching Fanny get treated really badly by the entire family, and then he came in and Mary Crawford came in, and they were like, "Why is everyone treating Fanny that way?" And so, like, they have kind of a different perspective on it, an outsider's perspective, and I think that he clocked that early on, and I think he's probably noticed that things have changed now that all the other siblings are gone, and that people are paying Fanny more attention, and I do think that he probably doesn't think that it's immediately genuine on their part. To be fair, also, though, it wasn't immediately genuine on his part. So, yeah. Does that answer the question?
It does. And I think it's spot on. I personally like I was struck. I've read this book 3 times. The last time I read that line, like before we read it this time, so I guess this is my 4th time reading it. I was just like, wow, yeah, he's right. Because I was reading it so much more quickly than I usually do. And the last like 5 chapters of the book have been set up to convince us that the Bertrams have started to really like respect Fanny.
Mhm.
She gets a ball. She's given like a place of sort of authority. She gets the carriage. Sir Thomas is treating her with like certain like ways in which he treated his daughters. Edmund gives her a chain and all this stuff. But we spent the first half of this book dealing with like real weird Cinderella treatment
Mhm.
towards Fanny. And even from Sir Thomas and Edmund, Sir Thomas, before he left for Antigua, made her cry and was like
Oh,
always
yeah.
so cold to her. Edmund like bought her a horse when she didn't have one that no one else cared about, but then proceeded to use that horse to woo Mary Crawford endlessly. And like they just like the generalized treatment of Fanny day to day just showed a certain like thoughtlessness to her needs that pissed us off so much that you entered this book like an Edmund Bertram stan and that horse chapter lost you entirely.
Yeah.
So like the first half of the book we spend just like getting really frustrated by the way Fanny is being treated and Henry's behavior is abhorrent through the whole book, but that he's the first person to be like, this family doesn't treat Fanny very well.
Yeah. And the quote is, listeners, Edmund, true, I believe he is, generally speaking, kind to her, and so is Sir Thomas in his way, but it is the way of a rich, superior, long worded, arbitrary uncle.
And then if you go on like a little bit, I think
What can Sir Thomas and Edmund together do? What do they do for her happiness, comfort, honor, and dignity in the world to what I shall do?
I just think that's an interesting passage.
Yeah, because, like, in their minds, they've done everything for her comfort and dignity in the world, and he's saying, "No, you haven't."
Yeah, I mean, no one has raised her status in this world higher than Sir Thomas Bertram. And no one has made her happier other than her own brother than Edmund Bertram, her cousin crush. But like it is just so frustrating to read this book the entire time and just scream that you want someone to stick up for Fanny. And, you know, the moment of it is like almost a monkey's paw, where it's like Henry Crawford in this moment of like presumptuousness, like, I want to save her. He's the first person to be like, yeah, this family's not great to her.
Yeah.
Just one woman's opinion. All right. I'm just going to like one more time reiterate. I want us to always keep in mind Jane Austen's thoughts on if people can change in this book. Where are you at with that? We've talked about it, but I just want to put it on the record right here.
Well, I still think she thinks people can change, but I think that she's making it hard for these characters.
Funniest quote?
This is Mary. Oh, yes. But this is Mary after being told that she's going to be missed at Mansfield. Oh, yes. Missed as every noisy evil is missed when it is taken away. That is, there is a great difference felt. But I am not fishing. Don't compliment me.
Queen of neuroses. Questions moving forward?
Will Henry propose? Will Fanny say no? That's what I think is going to happen. Like, I don't think that she's going to say yes. I think she's going to be like, what? Anyway, so will that happen? And also, will Edmund and Mary cross paths before she leaves and he returns or not?
Who wins the chapters?
Henry. He's in love.
Our boy found love. He caught feelings doing the flirting for the bit.
He flirted too close to the sun and he fell in love.
Caught feelings. Whoops.
He fell in love.
Listeners, that concludes this episode of Pod and Prejudice. For next time, we're going to read the next two chapters of Mansfield Park. That's going to be chapters 31 and 32. Or if you're in a volumed book, volume the second, chapters 13 and 14. Molly, are you ready to see what happens next?
Can't wait.
So until next time, stay proper.
And don't flirt too close to the sun.
Or do.
Or do. Pod and Prejudice is edited by Molly Burdick and audio produced by Graham Cook. Our show art is designed by Torrance Brown. Our show is transcribed by SpeechDocs Podcast Transcription. For transcripts and to learn more about our team, check out our website at podandprejudice.com. To keep up with the show, you can follow us on social media at Pod and Prejudice. If you love what you hear, check out our Patreon to see how you can support us, buy some merch at podandprejudice.dashery.com, or just drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts. Stay proper.